Stem cells are a very controversial topic, and a big question surrounding them is whether or not to use them. Stem cells are taken from the inner cell mass of a blastocyst. A blastocyst is a fertilized egg 4 to 5 days after it is conceived. Scientists have taken these eggs from in vitro fertilization clinics. They take the eggs that have been discarded and have no use anymore. Many people think that stem cells are not good because the blastocyst still has the potential of becoming a human being and because it is an alive cell. This cell has the potential of turning into a brain cell, a liver cell, a tissue cell, or a blood cell, and many other cells in the body. These cells will be put inside of a human to replace or repair a bad cell that is present. Stem cells are in our bodies our whole lives, but there are far more in a blastocyst than there are in an adult. Adult stem cells are still okay to use, but scientists have found that they take far longer to develop than the stem cells in a blastocyst. One disease that could potentially be cured with stem cell research is cystic fibrosis, or CF for short. CF is a recessive genetic disorder, meaning that both of the parents have to be carriers of this disease. This means that their children have a 1 in 4 chance of having cystic fibrosis. Cystic fibrosis is a disease that affects the lungs and the digestive system. In a person who has cystic fibrosis, a very thick mucus, also known as phlegm, builds up around the lungs. Someone who doesn't have cystic fibrosis still has mucus surrounding their organs, but it is much more watery and thin than someone who has cystic fibrosis. This mucus acts as a lubricant to the organs. Someone who has cystic fibrosis has a much thicker mucus that surrounds their lungs. This makes it a lot harder to move around, which traps bacteria in the lungs, which causes infections. Cystic fibrosis also affects the pancreas. The mucus that surrounds the pancreas doesn't let natural enzymes move around to absorb and break down food. Cystic fibrosis also affects the sweat glands in the body, the liver, and reproductive organs. Symptoms of cystic fibrosis include very salty skin, a lot of coughing, frequent lung infections, shortness of breath, wheezing, and poor growth and weight gain, even if the patient maintains a good diet. In the 1950s, children who had cystic fibrosis did not live to the age of elementary school. But in 1989, scientists discovered the gene that causes cystic fibrosis, which allowed research to progress from there. Now, people who have cystic fibrosis have a much longer life expectancy, which is to their 30s and 40s, and potentially even older. Every year, over 1,000 new cases are diagnosed. More than 70% of patients are diagnosed by the age of 2. 45% of patients are over the age of 18. Adults with cystic fibrosis typically develop other diseases such as diabetes and osteoporosis, which is a disease that affects the bones. How scientists will use stem cells for cystic fibrosis is that they will take the stem cells and try to replace the cystic fibrosis gene with the stem cell that is the opposite of that gene. I think that we should advance in stem cell research because although the scientists are using a live cell for this, it still has the potential of curing deadly diseases. One way this can be approved is to not have federal funds pay for stem cell research, and instead have supporters of stem cells pay for it to advance. Also, scientists can ask the person who is providing their eggs to in vitro fertilization clinics if they would like to donate their eggs as well to stem cell research, and if they say yes, then they can use it. So, in conclusion, I think that we should advance in stem cell research.